Please welcome to the stage Alibaba Group's General Manager, Europe, Terry von Bibra.
Good afternoon. It's an honor to have the opportunity today to share some thoughts with you about the Chinese consumer, about Alibaba, about the development of new retail. Before I do that, I'd like to share with you an example of seamlessness. So, the theory of computationalism takes the position that the human brain is basically an organic computer. And our minds are essentially like software that works on that computer. And with the ever greater processing power that technology is bringing, the ever more sophisticated algorithms that we can build, and the ever deeper storage capabilities that we have, we should be able to build an artificial mind that will work in the same way, with the same capabilities, or better, than the human brain. In his book, The Tides of Mind, the Yale professor David Gelernte elaborates on a different position on this, which is to say that actually the way our brains function is directly tied to how our physical bodies experience the world. And hence, that connection is so seamless that it would be impossible to build an artificial brain because it would be lacking the human body that we experience the world through. And when I think about this, it makes a lot of sense to me. Think about when you can do some of your best work when it comes to straightforward tasks. So, doing mathematical calculations, playing a complicated game, doing a project plan with hundreds or thousands of variables, filling out your tax return. These are things that we generally do better in the morning, when our bodies and our minds are physically rested and able to focus on very straightforward tasks. But some of our most creative thinking tends to happen later in the day, perhaps after a nice long lunch, a little bit of daydreaming, a little drowsy, where you allow yourself to think a little bit more outside the box. In the evening, when we allow our bodies to relax. How many people have you heard about, great leaders, great thinkers, people you know, people you work with every day who say, I have my best thoughts when I'm doing sport. I have my best thoughts when I'm running or climbing a mountain or chopping wood. Something about that physical experience enables us to filter out the day-to-day distractions of daily thinking and work, focus on the physical activity, but that somehow opens up a way in how our human brains and our human bodies are interacting that can create some of our most creative and most important thoughts and insights. The quality of the output of our minds is directly tied to how our physical bodies experience the world. I mention this for one simple reason. For me, it's a very powerful, it's a very elegant example of a truly seamless interaction between two things that many people consider to be ever more separate. So when I think about one of the subjects for today, and the subject of many conversations happening today, which is the world of retail, and what we call at Alibaba new retail, what many of us refer to as omnichannel, I think we've made a lot of progress in this space over the past few years. A lot of companies here are doing great things, exciting things about really trying to bridge the world between online and offline. But the vast majority of companies who are active in this space are actually coming over the past few years from offline retailers. These are bricks and mortar retailers who are saying, look, I'm seeing my traffic, I'm seeing my customers go online, I've got these large, expensive physical spaces and the most expensive real estate in cities. I have thousands of employees who have been trained and know how to do retail in the offline way, but my sales are going down, my sales are stagnant. I have a problem. And they're approaching omnichannel very often from the idea of I have a problem which I have to solve. I have to figure out how to digitize my store. I have to figure out how to get into that online growth. They're approaching something as a problem which is actually an opportunity. The online players are taking a different position. They're saying, why should I bother with physical retail? I'm online. I've got an average of 20% growth. I've got all the innovation, technology, startups, investment. I'm online, I'm sexy. Why would I bother with physical retails and their problems? This is equally a misled approach, in my opinion, because both sides are missing the point. The point is the perception of the only person who actually matters, and that is the consumer. And consumers all over the world, with all the differences, some of which I'll be talking about today, between consumers in Europe, in the US, in Asia, in China, consumers all over the world have one single view about this topic. They do not care. They do not care about online and offline. No consumer in the world gets up in the morning and says, I'm going to buy some shoes today online. And this afternoon, I'm going to go into Copenhagen and I'm going to buy a refrigerator offline. The only people who think like that are people who sell refrigerators offline or sell shoes online. Consumers do not. Consumers say, I have a need or want, and I want to engage with a brand or a consumer retailer who will give me the best possible selection, price, convenience, and experience to resolve in a positive way my want or need. And it has nothing to do with online, it has nothing to do with offline. I was asked several years ago, partly because of my background being both in the online pure place and in offline retail, and people asked me, Terry, are the big e-commerce players, or the big online players, are they going to start buying stores? Are they going to start building physical stores? And there's been a lot of press about this in the last few months, but 3 or 4 years ago, this was very early days. And my response back then was, I don't know. Very honest response. But what I also said is, what I do know is, if the big e-commerce and online players get into the physical space of retail, it will be for a very specific reason, not to build more stores like already exist all over the world. They will do so because they have a customer value delivery chain, and something in that chain they feel can be done better, but they're missing, and they believe a physical store can fill that gap. It's the only reason for an online player to get involved. And this is something that is now happening. Let me jump briefly to China. My company, obviously headquartered in China, born in China, and we all know China is a very big place. 1.38 billion persons, 731 million of them online today. That's the entire population of Europe online. Twice the size of the population of the US online. But what's more important to our subject today is the Chinese middle class. There are 300 million Chinese middle class. That number is forecasted to grow to 500 million, so 500 million consumers of the middle class. They may not have the same disposable income as a middle class family here in Denmark, but they have a disposable income that they want to invest quality products, frequently quality products from around the world. Another way to think about the size of China are cities. There are 10 cities in the United States with a population of 1 million or more. New York, Dallas, Los Angeles, etc. There are 18 such cities here all over Europe. In China, there are 102 cities today with a population of 1 million or more. That is forecasted to grow in the next 10 years to 220 cities with a population of 1 million or more. I want to talk briefly about Alibaba. Alibaba, founded 18 years ago in a small provincial city, in China, by our 18 founders. We started as a B2B platform. We moved into C2C, and then B2C, and then B2B2C, and cloud services and financial services. We do very many things. So this chart tries to give you a sense of our core commerce businesses, our media and entertainment businesses, our local services, and our 4 foundational areas. The first one there, Alipay. Alipay is the world's largest digital wallet smartphone payment system. 500 million Chinese use Alipay every month to pay for anything and everything. From the coffee, the taxi, the movie theater, things that are not that surprising, all the way to their rent, their utility bill. Many people in China do not carry a wallet today. All they worry about is, will their smartphone battery hold? Because the battery runs out, they can't do anything, and they can't buy anything. We have our logistics platform. We're not really a company that has warehouses or trucks. We have a logistics algorithm we use to work with hundreds of different partners to make sure the package is going from A to Z in the most efficient and effective way. Alimama is our big data and marketing platform, and our foundation of foundations, the Ali Cloud. It's a bit complicated, 25 different business units. Good news for you, you don't need to worry about all that. All you need to remember is the one thing that ties all of this together, which is our mission to make it easy to do business anywhere. This is what we care about. This is what we're passionate about. Every new business activity we get involved with is always in some way, shape, or form about helping businesses and consumers connect together in an easier way. So let's talk about the Chinese consumer. The Chinese consumer, go back 30, 40 years, had no selection, no access to brands, had access to locally produced products, and that was it. Now, fast forward one generation to today, the Chinese consumer, in my opinion, is the most well-informed, most sophisticated, most demanding consumer in the world. They have complete access to products, information, choice, and they are engaging with these products and brands in an intensive way with one common theme. The Chinese consumer wants to improve his or her quality of life and the quality of life of their family members. This is the single most strongest driving factor in this transformation of the Chinese consumer, the search for products to improve the quality of life. So this, for me, when I joined the company, I really had to get my head around this because very few of us in this room, and I certainly did not, have a basis to help us understand this, because a generation ago, our parents didn't have smartphones. The cars they drove looked differently. Our parents had great access to great brands and great product in wonderful retail formats and selection. That's the reference point that all of us grew up with. But that did not exist in China. The Chinese consumer today cannot look to their parents and say, how did you do this? How did you approach this? How did you consume brands and quality goods? That reference point was not there. It's a very different setup and fascinating to where the Chinese consumer has come to today. So I want to talk a little bit about new retail. There's a lot of talk about retail today, a lot of talk about online players in retail. But what a lot of people don't realize is at Alibaba, we've been active in this area for the past 2 years. We've been active in it because we really believe the retail of the future, new retail, omnichannel, call it whatever you want, is going to involve consumers desiring a particular experience which could only be delivered through a seamless experience of offline and online. So what we did, we started 2 years ago, we invested in Suning. Suning is the largest electronics store in China. We invested in Suning because we wanted to engage with them and figure out how does a Chinese consumer want to buy consumer electronics, offline and online. We then bought the company InTime. InTime is a shopping mall company. They have 18 shopping malls, 17 department stores. We bought them, and for me and a lot of people, I think this was quite surprising initially because why would a big online player, why would a big e-commerce platform, that's not how we see ourselves. We see ourselves really as a technology company who uses data to improve the consumer experience. But for a lot of people, they still see us as an e-commerce company. They said, why would you buy a shopping mall company? Shopping malls here in Europe are in a very difficult situation. Shopping malls in the US are dying as a retail format. Why would a big e-commerce player invest in shopping malls? Well, we did so because of the ubiquity of the smartphone in China, because of the ubiquity of payment systems on smartphones. We realized we have an opportunity to transform the shopping experience in a shopping mall by breaking down all those barriers between the different stores, no cash registers, and have this ability to say, how does the consumer want to experience brands, many of these famous Western brands, in a shopping mall environment? Another thing we do is work with famous brands. That's a big part of my day job. I meet with a lot of brands here in Europe to try to help them figure out how can they sell to Chinese consumers in China. So a lot of these great brands have stores, flagship stores on our platforms, but they also have physical stores. And it's difficult for them to figure out how do they connect the two. So we build a lot of tools. We build tools that enable people to say when a consumer comes into their store to identify themselves very easily so they know that this person who in their physical store is doing X, buying this stuff, that is the same person who online is buying these things from their same store. Many stores see those as two different people. Many people might purchase certain things more online and other things offline, but it's the same person. So we provide tools to retailers and brands to try to connect these two, to try to make it easier for them to do omnichannel or new retail. We did an experiment called the Tao Cafe. The Tao Cafe, we said we want to see how Chinese consumers engage in a cafe where there is no cash register, where there are no salespersons, where they're simply using their smartphone to experience the store, to get insights into, again, to the desire of the consumer of how they want to experience that retail format. Another thing we work on is what we call rural Taobao. So I mentioned 1.38 billion Chinese, but that means 731 million online, many of them in the cities, many not. There's 600 million Chinese who don't have access today to this incredible transformation of the Chinese retail experience. They can't experience e-commerce. So what we said is, we want to take 100,000 villages in China and put one store, one center in each village, we've done 16,000 so far, where you can go into the shop, order something online, get it delivered in a few days, or you can take the products that you produce in your village and take them and sell them online. This is a long-term idea about how we can help the Chinese consumer in the rural world do this. Another example is the corner shop. So corner shops, I remember when e-commerce really started to grow 14 years ago, 15 years ago, a lot of people said, e-commerce is going to kill the corner shop. The mom and pop shop is going to disappear. How can they compete with the platform, the technology, the logistics of these big e-commerce players? So again, surprising to see a company like mine to be getting involved with corner shops, but there's 6 million corner shops in China. So millions of Chinese, this is how they want to engage, this is how they want to buy. So we say, all right, how can we help? So we provide an app where people who run these shops can order products wholesale to then sell them retail in their shops. We give them access to data. What are the people in their neighborhoods buying? We give them access to logistical solutions so they can offer products like food that many of them could not because of a logistical challenge. We try to make it easy for corner shops to enter the world of new retail and how it will be experienced in the future. The last example I want to share with you is a shop called Hema. Hema is a shop we started about a year ago. It's well known specifically for its fresh seafood, crab, lobster, shrimp. They sell other products, but this is what they're known for. They are a hyper-local product. So they serve a radius of 3 kilometers, 3 miles, and within 30 minutes they will deliver the raw seafood or prepared cooked seafood to your home or office. But we did something here that is about an infrastructure difference between here in China and here that enables us to really push the envelope when it comes to omnichannel. In Hema, you cannot buy something without using the Hema app. You cannot pay without using Alipay. If I tried doing that here in Copenhagen, people would be rightly upset. They're saying, you're discriminating against me. Why do I have to install your app? Why do I have to use your payment system? Why can't I come in with cash and buy some fresh crab? It would actually be a negative consumer experience. This is not the case in China because everyone has the smartphone. Smartphones are 80% of all e-commerce sales in China, 500 million Chinese with Alipay. So this opens up the door for us to do things we could not. So you can use Hema as an online solution. You can order on the app at home and have that fresh crab delivered to your home. You can go into the physical store and say, actually, I'm going to choose what I want and I'm going to take it with me. So a pure offline experience or a pure online experience, and every possible combination thereof that consumer wants to do. One of the things that consumers want to do in China is they want to hand select the seafood they are buying. As you can see in this picture, they want to go in there and say, I want to choose which shrimp. Now, if we were a normal online company, our immediate reaction to market research telling us this would be to say, okay, I'm going to build an app that enables me to mimic this experience, virtual reality or cameras or whatever, to get as close as possible to enable people to feel like they're selecting. Well, actually, there's a much easier solution to give the Chinese consumer what they want. In this case, it's a physical store. It's much more efficient, much more actually cost efficient also to say, then give them what they want, and this is where the physical store is filling a gap that an app, a pure online experience, would be missing. So people go into Hema and say, my favorite example would be someone would go in and say, all right, I'm going to order this stuff at home. I get in the store. I actually want to order some more stuff because I just saw it. And actually, that fresh crab I ordered, I want to eat it with my friends here in 15 minutes, so please prepare it this way, Szechuan style. And the rest of the stuff I just bought, I'd like you to deliver it to my house. It's completely seamless because you're doing everything through your smartphone and engaging in the way you want to. So in closing, the transformation in China of the retail experience has really been driven to a great degree by e-commerce over the past few years. In the future, it will be driven by how people are able to build a seamless retail experience that combines offline in a way that is best for that particular consumer, for that particular brand experience. It's going to be a very exciting development. We'll see which parts of that make their way back to Europe, and I think it'll be a journey which will be very exciting for all of us to follow, to use, and to see how can we apply those learnings also to the retail experience here in Europe and in the West. Thank you very much.